stop here at this Hall of Fame is as important in that stretch as any other one, except maybe the National Baseball Hall of Fame. But without this step in the process, then the rest of it doesn't happen. So to see the way the stadium here, McCoy Stadium here in Pawtucket, has evolved is just a miracle. Because when I played here, it was not very conducive to very good baseball, to tell you the truth, and we didn't have a fan base, and I wondered whether the team would stay. It was a AA team at that time, so maybe it didn't appear to be as important as your next step players as AAA. You know, AAA is the next step is the big league. So there was a step beyond this. So I think the fan base would be different at this level, because you'd see the players that are playing here, you'd see them up in Boston too. So this is an important step. I'm thrilled and honored that it has happened.
How big was Darryl Johnson in your development?
I thought that was the next step in AAA. We played in Louisville, Kentucky in the International League, and Darryl Johnson was the manager, and maybe for the first time I got to thinking about how to get guys out, and he helped in that process, or initiated that process, and we'd have great conversations on pitches that worked and sequence of pitches and different kinds of hitters, and different places in the strike zone where you can attack and where you want to stay away from. So he helped a lot.
How different was your experience from, most of the guys that come back here were part of the AAA team. You were here when PawSox were AA, so I'm sure that's part of the growth that you've seen too.
Well, that's it too, and like I say, AAA is the next level up from when I was here, and the next level down from the big step. So, and that maybe as a result of that, the whole thought process behind this team, or involved in this team, is really different. And with the success of the big club, I think it trickles down to here, maybe more than trickles. It flows down to here. It's because everybody that comes through here, has a hand in what happens up in Boston. So, as a result, it's not just a Pawtucket team. It's it's an area team. The Red Sox is a New England team, and maybe you can put Pawtucket right in there with it's the New England AAA team for sure.
Carlton, you hit probably the most memorable home run in baseball history. They showed it during the ceremony. Everyone always talks about that. It's widely recognized. Is there another moment that's personal to you that you remember on a different level that's special to you besides that one, particularly?
Well, growing up in New Hampshire, a little town of 1,000 people, we only had 3 sports in school. Soccer, because we didn't have enough boys to play football. Basketball was the big sport, and baseball was just because it was springtime. We had the 12-game schedule in baseball, but we had a 20-game schedule in basketball. So my dream was never included baseball. It was always basketball. I wanted to be a power forward for the Celtics so bad. But at the time, a 6'1" forward doesn't, you can't be power forward with the big boys. But have that moment, to have such a small town boy makes good, to have that moment was really nice. But what even makes it, makes the whole career thing, the beginning of it, more memorable is the first time you step into Fenway Park and it means something. I've been there as a sort of quote-unquote tryout, and now you step into Fenway Park and it's like the transformation of McCoy Stadium at Fenway Park, in that they've got jumbotrons and seats on the wall and all kinds of seats on the roof and stuff. So But I can remember getting called up in '71 and having 8,000 people in the stands. So, but so that was a memorable moment. But equally memorable is the first time I stepped into Yankee Stadium. With that, the history of that. I wasn't aware of the rivalry at the time, but the monuments that were in play out in left center field, the flagpole in the middle of the monuments, and if you hit one out there, it could rattle around. I always wanted to do that too. Didn't quite get that done, but stepping into that old stadium, with that history, and then to learn quickly that there's a rivalry between Boston and New York, made those two stadiums extra special.
You played for the Red Sox when it was the Yawkey ownership group. Any thoughts about all the talk about lately, renaming Yawkey Way or anything like that? Should it stay that way, or?
Well, I'm not going to get into the politics of it. All I know is that Mr. Yawkey was a solid person. He was I don't think they ought to take away anything, surrender to somebody's political agenda. It's part of the history of this, which makes this nation great, is acknowledging what happened along the way. So that'd be a shame if they ever changed Yawkey Way to something else.
Pace of play.
Overrated. About being concerned with it. Yeah, there are some slow times. I always talk about the catcher, going out there. I went out there a lot. But to go out there with a purpose is one thing. To go out there to have a conversation is another thing. When the game means something, then everybody's got to be on the same page. But what has transpired over the years, which has allowed the game, and it shouldn't be overlooked, is that now there's not a starter that goes 8 innings. A starter goes 5 innings, and then they bring in this guy, then they bring in another guy, and then they walk out to the mound, and then the manager comes out, the pitching coach comes out. So the last 4 innings of the game, you could have 4, 5, 6 pitchers. That's what has allowed the game, or made the game longer. And as far as time goes, as far as the play itself goes, the play itself is not slow. When the pitcher's pitching and the hitter's hitting and the fielders are catching and and stuff's happening, it's when stuff's not happening is when the game gets slow. So when we used to use 2 pitchers a game, and most of the time, 2 pitchers a game, and now you're using 6 or 7. You're going to have an extra 20 minutes, half hour. So I think being overly concerned about whether it's 2 hours and 42 minutes or 2 hours and 57 minutes is just is over the top. There's one thing, it's America's pastime. It's the only sport that doesn't have a clock, a quarters clock, a period clock, a play clock. So you mess around with it too much, I think you're not gonna allure people in. You're gonna push them away.
Buddy Hunter, one of your favorite
He's
teammates?
a favorite guy.
Yeah.
I always call him Harold. I always get upset
Yeah.
when I call him Harold. But Buddy Hunter's a good little player.
Yes.
I don't know if any, Double A ball. We had our All-Star game at old Connie Mack Stadium in Philadelphia, and Buddy Hunter went upper deck grand slam in the All-Star game. So, and he was pretty smooth. He was pretty smooth.
There's been talk of the PawSox maybe building a new stadium, maybe potentially moving somewhere else. What are your thoughts on just the franchise? Or would you like to see the PawSox stay in Pawtucket?
I think that it has become part of the landscape here in Pawtucket, and to move it would just alienate a lot of interest, especially after what they've done to the stadium to make it so nice and so acceptable to all age groups and all corporate groups and for all functions. So I don't know if they can do any more to improve the ballpark, but the playing surface is perfect, and and all the amenities are so much greater than they used to be, and and all the facilities that the players have a chance to take advantage of are just, it's so much nicer and so much more, I don't know if modern's the right word, but it's allowing the players every opportunity to be the best they can be.
You've seen a lot of great pitchers over the years, played with a lot of great ones. How much would you have enjoyed catching a guy like a Chris Sale in Boston right now?
Oh, those kind of guys are just few and far between. I caught some guys that were just a joy to catch, to be part of their talent, and I felt as though that I didn't try to control their talent. I tried to enhance their talent, their ability. Everyone from Louis Tiant and Bill Lee to Jack McDowell and Tom Seaver. So I always wanted to get the most out of my pitchers. I call them my pitchers because I felt as though they were my responsibility to get the most out of them. And that's where my focus was when I played. And I think I could have been a better offensive player. I really do. But that wasn't my main focus when I went out on the field. My main focus was the pitching staff and being sort of one with that thought process and getting guys out.
Did you ever think about getting into broadcasting or coaching after you hung it up?
I flirted with that for a little while, but I played a long time and went through a lot. And the schedule is one thing that I really wanted to get away from. So it's not any better for time at the ballpark. It is, but days involved, consecutive days involved, it's not any better for broadcasters than it is for players. And for managers, they get there earlier than the players do. So it's an everyday thing for a long time, and that's what I wanted to stay away from. I still like being involved to a certain degree, but to be part of the landscape in Fenway Park is pretty nice. I have a pole named after me out there, so I'll be there forever.